Breaking news, Viking Nation. The storm clouds are gathering over Minneapolis, and what I'm about to reveal will shake you to your purple core. A coach's defiant words echo through the halls of Winter Park after a crushing defeat that left our Warriors bloodied, but not broken. A rising star quarterback faces his first taste of true NFL adversity as 6 savage hits tested his resolve. Injuries pile up like fallen soldiers on a battlefield, threatening to derail our season before it truly begins. Critical moments that could have changed everything slip through our fingers like snow in a Minnesota blizzard. And the harsh reality that our offensive system might need a complete overhaul to unleash our young general's true potential. Each of these revelations cuts deeper than a Viking blade, but they also forge the path forward for a franchise that has never backed down from a fight. The first shock is about to detonate inside US Bank Stadium, and if you bleed purple, you need to hear every single word. Hit that notification bell right now, because only true Vikings survive what's coming next. And the Packers fans watching this are about to learn why we never surrender. But hold on, as shocking as this preview was, the first revelation cuts even deeper into the heart of our Purple Kingdom. After watching our beloved Vikings get absolutely demolished by the Atlanta Falcons 22-6 in what should have been a triumphant home opener, one man stood tall in the wreckage and delivered words that will define this season. Head coach Kevin O'Connell refused to bow his head in defeat, instead staring adversity straight in the eyes and declaring war on doubt itself. Listen closely, Viking Nation, because these aren't the words of a broken man. These are the battle cries of a leader who knows exactly what his warriors are made of. Our team will handle the adversity that is now at our feet. We will go back to work and improve immediately, O'Connell declared, with the fire of 1,000 Nordic ancestors burning in his voice. But here's what separates O'Connell from every other coach in this league. He didn't make excuses, he didn't point fingers, and he sure as hell didn't sugarcoat the brutal reality of what happened on that Sunday night. Instead, he gave credit where it was due, admitting that Atlanta stayed aggressive, while our offense struggled to stay on the field for more than a few precious moments. The numbers don't lie, and they're as ugly as a frozen tundra in January. Minnesota managed just 46 plays for 198 yards, while Atlanta controlled the game with 63 plays for 326 yards. It was domination in its purest, most painful form. But here's what the stat sheet can't measure: the unbreakable spirit that courses through the veins of every true Viking. O'Connell sees something that the doubters, the critics, and especially those cheese-loving frauds up north refuse to acknowledge. He sees a team that came back from 17 points down against Chicago just 1 week earlier. He sees a quarterback who took a beating and kept getting back up. He sees warriors who know that one battle doesn't define a war. We've got to find a way to stay on the field longer, because it's an important part of how we need to play as a team, O'Connell admitted, with the tactical mind of a true general. He knows that championship teams don't just happen overnight. They're forged in the fires of adversity, tempered by defeats that would break lesser organizations. This isn't just about X's and O's, Viking Nation. This is about the soul of our franchise, the DNA that separates us from every other team in this league. What makes this moment even more powerful is watching our young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, step up and take full accountability. We've got a lot to do, and I've got a lot to do personally, he said, with the maturity of a seasoned veteran. That's not the voice of a broken rookie. That's the sound of a future superstar who understands that greatness isn't born from comfort. It's born from moments exactly like this one. Do you think Aaron Rodgers would have that kind of courage? Would he take responsibility like a true leader? We all know the answer to that question. But here's the beautiful irony that only Viking Nation truly understands. While the rest of the NFL sees a team that got blown out at home, O'Connell sees a group that's about to be more dangerous than ever before. History has shown us that the greatest Vikings teams weren't the ones that never faced adversity. They were the ones that rose from it like phoenixes from purple ashes. The 1998 team that went 15-1 had setbacks. The 2009 squad that nearly reached the Super Bowl faced moments of doubt. Every legendary Vikings team has had to prove they could handle the pressure, and now it's this team's turn. The question isn't whether this team will bounce back. It's how devastating they'll be. when they do. Kevin O'Connell knows something that the rest of us are just beginning to understand. Sometimes you need to get hit in the mouth to remember how hard you can hit back. And trust me, Viking Nation, when this team unleashes its full fury on the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 3, the entire NFL is going to remember why you never count out the Minnesota Vikings. If you believe in this team more than you hate our divisional rivals, smash that like button right now and let the world know that adversity only makes Vikings stronger. And if you think that revelation was devastating, the next bombshell might just bring this entire season to its knees before it even gets started. We're not just talking about bumps and bruises anymore, Viking Nation. We're staring down the barrel of an injury crisis that could test every ounce of depth this organization has built. The carnage from Sunday night's battle reads like a medical report from an actual war zone, and the names on this list will make your blood run cold. Let's start with the most terrifying one. Ryan Kelly, our veteran center and the anchor of our offensive line. The man who was supposed to bring stability and championship experience to protect J.J. McCarthy is now in concussion protocol after taking a devastating hit. This isn't just any concussion, Viking Nation. Kelly has a long documented history of head injuries, back problems, and neck issues that would have ended lesser men's careers years ago. When the Vikings signed him, everyone pointed to his injury history as a red flag. And now that red flag is waving directly in our faces. His backup, Michael Juergens, was thrust into action for the first time in his NFL career. And the result was exactly what you'd expect when an untested rookie suddenly becomes responsible for protecting a young quarterback. The center position isn't just about blocking. It's about making line calls, setting protections, and being the quarterback of the offensive line. Kelly brought that veteran savvy that McCarthy desperately needs. Without him, our offensive line doesn't just lose a player, it loses its brain. But the carnage doesn't stop there. Justin Skule, our swing tackle, who was already struggling mightily, also went into concussion protocol and didn't return. The man was getting beaten like a drum all night long, and fans weren't shy about expressing their frustration. Social media erupted with comments like, "Justin Skule is the worst NFL player I've ever seen, and Justin Skule needs help on every pass play." That's the kind of brutal honesty that only comes when a player is getting absolutely destroyed on national television. With Skule out, the Vikings were forced to rely on Walter Rouse, a second-year player who has nowhere near the experience needed for Sunday Night Football. Then we have Gabriel Murphy, the practice squad elevation who was supposed to provide depth with Andrew Van Ginkel already sidelined. Murphy was fantastic in preseason, showing the kind of pass rush ability that could have been crucial against Atlanta's passing attack. Instead, he suffered a knee injury and had to leave the game, with Kevin O'Connell confirming that he'll need an MRI to check for a potential MCL injury. That's the kind of injury that can derail a young player's entire season. And just when you think it can't get any worse, our workhorse running back, Aaron Jones, left the game with a hamstring injury. We all know what hamstring injuries can do to a season. Just look at Blake Cashman, who's already on injured reserve for at least 4 games with the same type of injury. Jones was supposed to be the reliable veteran presence in our backfield, the guy who could take pressure off McCarthy with his versatility and experience. If his injury is serious, we're looking at Jordan Mason, carrying the load once again, just like he did with the 49ers last season. Here's what makes this injury crisis even more terrifying. It's not just the starters getting hurt, it's the backups too. Teams build their rosters expecting to deal with injuries to key players, but when the replacements start dropping like flies, that's when championship dreams can turn into nightmares. The Vikings spent the entire offseason revamping their offensive line, bringing in Kelly to provide stability and experience. Now they're potentially looking at a line that features multiple, inexperienced players trying to protect a rookie quarterback. Jonathan Greenard, our star defensive end, also left the game briefly, but managed to battle back and return. Kevin O'Connell praised him for fighting through whatever was bothering him, saying he battled and played his heart out, fighting through that. That's the kind of warrior mentality this team needs right now. But even Greenard can't do it all by himself. The depth chart is getting thinner by the day, and the schedule isn't going to wait for anyone to get healthy. The Bengals are coming to town in Week 3, and they're not going to show any mercy for a team dealing with an injury crisis. This is where championship teams separate themselves from pretenders, not by avoiding adversity, but by finding ways to overcome it when everything seems to be falling apart. The medical staff is working overtime, the coaching staff is reshuffling depth charts, and the front office is probably scanning the waiver wire for emergency options. But here's what separates the Vikings from other franchises. This organization has been built to handle exactly these kinds of challenges. The question isn't whether injuries will test this team, it's whether they'll emerge from this trial by fire stronger than ever before. Stay with me, because what comes next will flip the script in ways nobody predicted, and it involves one player whose performance became the lightning rod for every Vikings fan's frustration. When Justin Skule went down with a concussion in the third quarter and didn't return, it wasn't just another injury report. It was the culmination of a performance so painful to watch that social media exploded with some of the most brutal criticism you'll ever see directed at a professional athlete. The numbers tell only part of this horror story. J.J. McCarthy was sacked 6 times, and 5 of those crushing hits came in the first half alone. But here's what the stat sheet can't capture: the sheer helplessness of watching a rookie quarterback get demolished behind protection that looked like it was made of tissue paper. Skule, who was already struggling to contain Atlanta's pass rush, became the focal point of a collective meltdown that had Vikings fans questioning everything they thought they knew about this offensive line. The social media reaction was swift and merciless. Justin Skule needs help on every pass play, and I'm not even trying to be funny, wrote one analyst. Justin Skule is the worst NFL player I've ever seen, declared another frustrated fan. The criticism wasn't just harsh. It was the kind of raw, unfiltered anger that only comes when fans watch their franchise quarterback getting pummeled on national television. You think your team's OL has problems? Some folks are out here starting Justin Skule at LT in primetime, became the rallying cry for everyone watching this disaster unfold. But here's where this story takes a darker turn. Skule's concussion didn't happen in a vacuum. It was the inevitable result of a player who was clearly overmatched from the very first snap. The 28-year-old offensive tackle, who came to Minnesota after spending 3 seasons with Tampa Bay, found himself thrust into a starting role he simply wasn't prepared to handle. Every snap became a countdown to catastrophe, every pass protection a prayer that somehow, some way, he could buy his quarterback just a few more precious seconds. When the medical tent claimed Skule in the third quarter, it forced Kevin O'Connell to turn to Walter Rouse, a second-year player who suddenly found himself protecting J.J. McCarthy's blind side on Sunday Night Football. The irony is brutal. Some fans had been calling for Rouse to get a chance anyway, but when he finally got his opportunity, the protection issues didn't magically disappear. If anything, they got worse, proving that this isn't just about one player struggling, it's about an entire offensive line that's still trying to find its identity. The ripple effects of Skule's injury and subsequent concussion protocol are staggering, with Christian Darrisaw still working his way back from his own knee injury. The Vikings are suddenly looking at a left tackle situation that would terrify any quarterback, let alone a rookie making just his second NFL start. The offensive line that was supposed to be rebuilt and revitalized is instead becoming a revolving door of inexperienced players trying to handle one of the most important jobs in football. But here's what makes this situation even more maddening. Skule's struggles weren't a surprise to anyone who had been paying attention. The signs were there in preseason, the concerns were raised during training camp, and yet here we are, watching a player who clearly wasn't ready for this moment, getting exposed on the biggest stage. The question that haunts every Vikings fan is simple. How did we get here? Kevin O'Connell, ever the diplomat, refused to use injuries as an excuse after the game. There were some injuries, but that is never going to be an excuse, he said, with the stoic professionalism that defines his coaching style. But behind those words, you can sense the frustration of a coach who knows his young quarterback is getting hit too much, too often, and by defenders who should never be getting through that quickly. The timing couldn't be worse. Just as McCarthy was starting to find his rhythm in the NFL, just as the offense was beginning to show glimpses of its potential, the foundation gets ripped out from underneath them. Skule's concussion is more than just a medical concern. It's a symbol of everything that's going wrong with this offensive line right now. The medical staff will evaluate School throughout the week, but even if he clears concussion protocol, can Vikings fans trust him to protect their franchise quarterback? Can the coaching staff afford to keep rolling the dice with a player who has been consistently overwhelmed? These are the questions that will define the next few weeks of this season. What happens next will determine whether this team can salvage what started as a promising season or whether they'll be remembered as the team that wasted J.J. McCarthy's rookie year because they couldn't keep him upright. The clock is ticking. The Bengals are coming to town, and right now, the most important position battle in Vikings history isn't for a starting job. It's for the right to protect the future of this franchise. But trust me, the story only gets darker from here. The next revelation is pure shock, and it's heading straight for us like a freight train. We need to talk about the 6 critical moments that turned what should have been a triumphant home opener into the kind of nightmare that haunts championship dreams. These weren't just bad plays, Viking Nation. These were the precise moments where destiny slipped through our fingers like purple smoke, and each one cuts deeper than the last. The botched quarterback sneak that started it all. Picture this: opening possession, trailing just 3-0, and McCarthy scrambles toward the right sideline on 3rd and 7, diving and extending the ball toward the line to gain. The spot looked questionable at best, but Kevin O'Connell chose not to challenge. Then came 4th and short from our own 36, and this is where nightmares are born. McCarthy bobbled the snap from Ryan Kelly and went absolutely nowhere, turning the ball over on downs and gifting Atlanta their second field goal. Just like that, we're down 6-0, and the demons of doubt start whispering. 1st and goal from the 2-yard line, the moment that should have changed everything. The Vikings finally started clicking in the second quarter, with McCarthy hitting Adam Thielen for 19 yards on 3rd and 18, then finding Jalen Nailor for 17 more to reach Atlanta's 2-yard line. 1st and goal from the 2 is supposed to be automatic. It's the kind of situation that separates playoff teams from pretenders. Instead, our Warriors went backwards faster than a Viking ship caught in a hurricane. McCarthy tried to fake a pitch to Jordan Mason, but dropped the ball completely. O'Connell later explained, "He just dropped the ball. It was a play we've been practicing for a while. He just happened to drop the ball on the play," which is tough. The fake might have opened up Justin Jefferson over the middle for an easy touchdown, but instead McCarthy threw high into tight coverage in the end zone. Then came the substitution chaos that led to a delay of game penalty, followed by Justin Skule getting beaten to the edge for a 7-yard sack. What should have been a touchdown became a field goal, and momentum died right there in the red zone. McCarthy's first interception, a perfectly timed dagger. Late in the first half, still down 6-3, McCarthy tried to fire a ball to the right side toward Nailor. The throw may have been a touch late, but rookie Billy Bowman Jr. made a spectacular play, basically jumping on top of Nailor to steal the ball. That interception set up another Falcons field goal and sent the Vikings into halftime, knowing they'd left points on the board. Sometimes in the NFL, perfect defensive plays happen, but this felt like something more, like the football gods themselves were conspiring against us. The penalty sequence that killed a third-quarter drive. Down 12-6 in the third quarter, McCarthy successfully executed a quarterback sneak on 4th and 1, the exact same play that had failed earlier, proving he learns from his mistakes. Jordan Mason then ripped off an 18-yard run that would have been the longest play of the day, but Walter Rouse got called for holding, sending us backwards instead of toward the end zone. After McCarthy scrambled for 16 yards on 2nd and 20, veteran Brian O'Neill committed a false start that made it 3rd and 9. McCarthy's throw to Jefferson fell incomplete, and another drive died in the grip of yellow flags. The fumble that crushed our souls. As the fourth quarter began with the Vikings still down just 6 points and possessing the ball near midfield, fans were hoping for a repeat of last week's heroics. Instead, Zach Harrison came unblocked at McCarthy, and not only sacked him, but forced a fumble that Atlanta recovered. It's the type of play that makes you question everything. Where was the protection? How does a pass rusher come completely free? Parker Romo's 5th field goal made it 15-6, and suddenly a manageable deficit became a mountain to climb. The overthrow and punt decision that sealed our fate. Down by 9 points with less than 10 minutes remaining, the Vikings faced 3rd and 1 from their own 28-yard line. Instead of trying to secure the first down, they came out in shotgun, and McCarthy took a deep shot to Naylor up the left side. Naylor had a step on his defender. It could have been a 72-yard touchdown that completely changed the game, but McCarthy simply missed the throw, sailing it too far for his receiver to run down. Thought it would be our best chance to try to get a one-on-one for one of our guys down the field, and just overshot it a little bit, O'Connell said afterward. That set up the decision that analytics experts are still questioning. 4th and 1 from inside your own territory, down by 2 scores with less than 10 minutes left. Do you punt or go for it? O'Connell chose to punt, citing the earlier botched snap on 4th down. The analytical models hated the decision, and if you weren't going to go for it on 4th down, why take a deep shot on 3rd and 1? From there, Atlanta put together an 83-yard touchdown drive that sealed the deal, and McCarthy threw a second interception with just over 3 minutes left that ended any hope of a miracle comeback. Each of these moments tells the story of a team that was close enough to taste victory but couldn't quite grasp it. The difference between 2-0 and 1-1 came down to execution in critical moments, and right now the Vikings are learning the hardest lesson in professional football. In the NFL, almost doesn't count for anything. And listen closely, the next 72 hours might be the most decisive in this franchise's history, because what I'm about to reveal cuts to the very core of everything we thought we knew about this team's identity. The final revelation isn't just about one bad game or a few missed opportunities. It's about a fundamental flaw in the system that could determine whether J.J. McCarthy becomes the franchise savior we all believe he can be, or whether he becomes another casualty of a coaching staff that refuses to adapt to reality. Kevin O'Connell needs to completely overhaul his offensive system, and he needs to do it right now. This isn't about minor tweaks or subtle adjustments. This is about admitting that the complex 2025 syllable play calls that worked perfectly for veteran quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold are slowly destroying the confidence and development of our rookie signal caller. The evidence is overwhelming, and it's been building since the very first snap of the season. Against the Bears, we saw multiple instances of McCarthy struggling to get the offense set at the line of scrimmage. The Vikings were consistently rushing their process, getting to the line late, and giving McCarthy zero time to identify what the defense was actually doing. It resulted in 2 delay of game penalties in Week 1, and it happened again against Atlanta with another delay of game due to a substitution issue. This isn't just about inexperience. This is about a system that's asking too much of a 22-year-old quarterback who should be focused on reading defenses, not memorizing encyclopedia-length play calls. Here's the brutal reality that O'Connell needs to face. When both broadcast teams are harping on how complicated your play calls are, and when veteran NFL analysts are questioning whether your system is too complex for a rookie quarterback, it's time to swallow your pride and make changes. The Vikings often run dual play calls, starting with one concept and then canning it with hand signals for a completely different play. That's fine for a 10-year veteran who's seen every defense imaginable, but it's mental overload for a rookie who's still learning how to operate at NFL speed. Former NFL players and coaches have been openly discussing how O'Connell's play calls can be 20 to 25 syllables long, just for the first play. Then they add the second play option. And suddenly, you're asking a rookie quarterback to process, communicate, and execute concepts that would challenge seasoned veterans. McCarthy isn't struggling because he lacks talent or intelligence. He's struggling because he's trying to run a graduate-level offense when he should be starting with the fundamentals. The most frustrating part? O'Connell has shown throughout his coaching career that he's historically unwilling to significantly modify his system for individual quarterbacks. He's made minor adjustments here and there, adding some quarterback running plays for Josh Dobbs, but he's never fundamentally altered his approach to maximize a specific player's skill set. That stubbornness might have worked with veteran quarterbacks who could adapt to his system, but it's becoming a massive liability with McCarthy. This is going to be a process for our team and our young quarterback, O'Connell admitted after the Atlanta loss. He's going to make some plays, he's going to make some unbelievable throws, and then other times, he's going to have an attempt and just miss something a little long. But sometimes, the fundamentals are going to be right, the technique is going to be right, and he's just learning on the fly right now. That's exactly the problem. McCarthy shouldn't have to learn on the fly while trying to execute one of the most complex offensive systems in the NFL. He should be operating within a framework that allows him to focus on the most important aspects of playing quarterback, reading defenses, making quick decisions, and delivering accurate passes. Instead, he's spending mental energy on memorizing play calls that sound like they need their own instruction manual. The solution isn't rocket science. Shorten the play calls. Add more quick game concepts. Incorporate play-action rollouts that get McCarthy outside the pocket where he's most comfortable. Give him simple, effective concepts that he can execute with confidence instead of complex schemes that leave him second-guessing himself at the line of scrimmage. McCarthy himself showed the maturity to take accountability after the loss. There's a lot of things we got to clean up, and there's a bright future ahead in that locker room. Just being able to all be on the same page and really just attack tomorrow, attack the meetings, attack the lift, and get back to that 1-0 mentality every single day. The beautiful irony is that McCarthy has all the tools to be special in this league. His arm talent is undeniable. His mobility adds another dimension to the offense, and his football IQ is off the charts. But right now, the system is handcuffing him instead of unleashing him. Every successful quarterback in NFL history has had coaches who adapted their schemes to maximize that player's unique abilities. O'Connell needs to do the same thing, and he needs to do it immediately. The clock is ticking. Viking Nation. The Bengals are coming to town with a defense that's going to test every weakness this offense has shown. If O'Connell continues to force McCarthy to operate within a system that's clearly too complex for a rookie quarterback, we could be looking at a long, frustrating season that wastes a year of development for our franchise player. But if he swallows his pride, simplifies the offense, and gives McCarthy the tools to succeed, this team could still achieve everything we dreamed about back in April. The choice is simple: evolve or watch another promising season slip away. The question is whether Kevin O'Connell has the courage to admit his system needs to change, because right now, the future of this franchise depends on it.